Welcome back to Up Front. It's a fast sprint to the election for Wisconsin Supreme Court, with the April 7th contest a little more than 5 weeks away now. The primary last month set up a match between Justice Daniel Kelly, favored by conservatives, and Dane County Judge Jill Karofsky, favored by liberals. We're talking with both of them this week and next, and begin with Judge Karofsky. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So you made it out of the primary. You have an ad running on TV right now, and you say, "I'm running for the Supreme Court to stop corruption." Do you think the Supreme Court is corrupt?
I think that there are people in Wisconsin feel like it's corrupt because what they see are justices on the Supreme Court who make decisions before anyone ever gets into the state Supreme Court chamber, justices who do not follow the rule of law, justices who are acting like politicians, and that feels like corruption to people.
You say people think it's corrupt, but do you, since your ad says I'm running to stop corruption? And who specifically are you talking about?
I think when you look at Dan Kelly's record, it is difficult to reach a conclusion other than he is acting in a way that makes people feel like there is corruption on the state Supreme Court.
Do you think Dan Kelly is corrupt? Is that what you're saying?
I think that Dan Kelly makes decisions on the state Supreme Court before anyone walks in the state Supreme Court chamber. I think that he has predetermined results that he wants to get to. And I think that people who are supporting him want to make sure that he stays on the court because they know that he is going to rule for them no matter what.
And it's a serious claim, so I looked up the definition of corruption. It says dishonest or illegal behavior by powerful people, bribery, a departure from the original or from what is pure or correct. Do you think he falls under that category?
I think that when you have a Supreme Court, which Dan Kelly is on, and they do things like they pluck a case, like the lame duck case, from the trial court before any evidence is heard, before any witness has testified, and they pull that case up to the Supreme Court, that feels like corruption to people because people are saying, what is the evidence? What is it that they didn't want to hear? I think when you have a justice like Dan Kelly who refuses to have a hearing on a recusal rule, that what we have done is we have put a sign on the Supreme Court that says it is for sale because you have a court where there are justices on it who are not willing to pass a rule, a recusal rule, a smart recusal rule to stop loads and loads of outside money coming in. The people who are contributing to those campaigns know exactly what they are paying for.
And so you say that he's made up his mind before he goes into the courtroom. I've heard you say that several times. So give an example of a time that maybe you felt differently, that you had a personal bias one way and then ruled a different way.
It happens to me all the time. I've given many, many examples. I'll give you one example. I presided over more than 1,700 cases last year in my courtroom. And oftentimes I preside over OWI cases, drunk driving cases. We are not allowed to tell jurors if it is someone's third or fourth or fifth drunk driving case. They don't know that they have had any priors. And every time I talk to jurors, they want to know, why didn't we know that there were more priors? I think we ought to tell jurors that there were these priors, but we don't because that is the law. And I follow the rule of law in my courtroom every day.
I know you said in the past when you were on Up Front that you think that you want to look at the law about how the law impacts people today, looking at it through a 2020 lens. And Justice Kelly has said his tagline, one of them is that no judge should rewrite the law. So do you think that's rewriting a law if you're looking at it through today's lens, or how do you defend that?
Look, I think when Justice Kelly talks about things like originalism, that is code for having a predetermined result. And what I am saying is that when the Constitution was ratified, it was the late 1700s. Today, it is 2020. At the time the Constitution was ratified, women like you and I didn't have the right to vote. African Americans were considered 3/5 of a person. The world has changed greatly. It is 2020, and when looking at the Constitution, we should be looking at it with today in mind.
And now is the time that the money will really pour into the race now that the primary is over. So how will you decide who to take money from, and kind of what's your philosophy on recusal then going forward?
Well, number one, we're not going to take any money from any corporate polluters. Number two, I do recuse myself on cases right now, and if we receive millions and millions of dollars from someone, I will recuse myself.
And you've said that you want reform in the criminal justice system. I've heard you talk a lot about that. So how do you incorporate that into being a justice on the Supreme Court?
Well, Right now I do it because I'm the person in this race who has been a trial court judge. And when I talk about reforming the criminal justice system, I mean making sure that we are getting people to drug treatment courts, to OWI treatment courts, to veterans courts, to mental health courts, that we are diverting people if we can in the criminal justice system. On the Supreme Court is the administrator for the rest of the court system. And we need to make sure that there are avenues available so that we can keep people out of prisons and out of jails when it is appropriate.
And as you know, obviously, judges, they don't write the law. So do you think there's any kind of controversy there with being an advocate maybe for social justice or for the criminal justice system reform? How do those fit together?
Right, you're absolutely right. I'm not running to be in the legislature. I'm not running to make policy. But I believe I have a duty as someone who has spent most of their career on the front line in the justice system to inform the policymakers of what I have seen and what I am seeing.
And some of the things you talk about are racial justice as well as guns. What are your plans with that?
What I have said is that these are my values, and I've been very, very open in talking about those things. But when I put my robe on in my courtroom, I follow the rule of law.
When it comes to the turnout, so Justice Kelly, as we said, at about 50%, you had 37%. No secret that more Democrats will probably be showing up at the polls on April 7th because it's the presidential preference primary. Do you think that's enough to push you over the top, considering Justice Kelly might have more money?
He's going to have more money because there are organizations and individuals in this state who do not want to lose his for sure vote on the Supreme Court. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to continue to build a grassroots campaign. We have thousands of individual contributions that have come to our campaign. We have people who are joining our campaign every single day. They're excited about our campaign. They like our message, and they want to see the Supreme Court of Wisconsin get back on track.
What do you want people to know coming into April 7th?
I want people to know on April 7th that in Jill Karofsky, you will have a Supreme Court justice who has a track record of following the rule of law. I'm going to continue to follow the rule of law when I am on the state Supreme Court.
Judge Karofsky, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Justice Danielle Kelly will join me next Sunday on Upfront. Coming up, the Sanders surge. A new poll shows Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders leading Democrats in Wisconsin. We'll look at the accuracy of polling this cycle coming up next.